Welcome back, and it's time to get some more practice with graphing sine and cosine via transformations. So we've seen this example before using the 5-point method. Now it's time to do it just with transformations for a different approach. Okay, so here we go. We can identify, amplitude is 3, period is going to be 2 pi over b, which is 5, and then phase shift is c, pi over 2, and then it's negative, so that's good. I don't need to include a negative. Divide by b, which is 5, so this is pi over 10, and vertical shift here is 0. Okay, so then in terms of, so I have the key pieces of information. Now in terms of transformations, right, I would start with normally cosine, right? And then from here, I would do a horizontal scale by 1 over 5, so make it 1/5 as long, okay? And that would actually fit within the period, hence why I take 2 pi divided by b, okay? And then, so I'd be a cosine of 5x. And then after this, I would do the horizontal shift by the phase shift, right? So by pi over 10. And then that puts me at cosine of 5x minus pi over 2. Okay. And then lastly, I would do a vertical scale by factor 3. Was it 3? Yep, positive 3. Okay, so I have 3 cosine 5x minus pi over 2. Okay, so that's the sequence of transformations that I'm going to do. For space on here and horizontal scaling, I'm not going to graph cosine of x. Okay, I'm just going to start with cosine 5x rather than cosine x. Okay, so then that means horizontally, right? I wouldn't be at I'd be at 2 pi over 5, right? Actually, it's easier if I do it this way. 2 pi over 5. So that would be 1 period. So this would be pi over 5. And then 3 pi over 10. And then this would be pi over 10. So then if I just do normal scales here, my first graph, maybe I'll do that in black, and it's a sine graph, right? Cosine graph, just kidding. Okay, so cosine would be following a pattern of maximum, center, minimum, center, maximum. So this is cosine of 5x. Okay, and now this is the graph that I'm going to transform by doing what I said I was going to do. So I have this one shown. Next, I'm going to do the horizontal shift, so I need to shift it all by pi over 10, which happens to be my horizontal scale. And again, or my horizontal inner increment, that's the language I use. So this would be pi over 2. And again, if you need to determine increments, you would take the period and divide it into 4. So you get 2 pi over 20, which is pi over 10. Okay, pi over 2. So now I need to do all these in red. So shift all these by pi over 10, which is 1 unit on my horizontal scale. Okay, and I'm just going to say this one is the cosine of 5x minus pi over 2. It's very helpful to label your graphs. Always do that, please. Thank you. And then lastly, I'm going to do the vertical scale by a factor of 3. So that takes the x values, leaves them put, but then takes the y values and multiplies them by 3. So 1, there we go. Boom, 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 and boom. So this is 3 cosine 5x minus pi over 2. And we're done. Okay, so 5-point method, yes, there's more to do algebraically, and then you can just plot it and you're done. This one, it looks messy, but to me, it's actually faster in some cases. because you just take a set of points that you start with and move them according to what you say you're going to do. Next one. Okay, I want you to try doing this on your own first via transformations, and then once you think you have the answer, resume the video. So I don't have the complete solution yet. I wanted to wait to graph everything with you so you could see that. But I've at least identified, period, phase shift, increments, amplitude, and vertical shift. And then I have the order. So we first horizontally scale by a factor of 1/2 pi. That's a pi. And then horizontal shift by -1/6 units. And then vertical scale by pi, vertical shift by pi/4. Okay, so let's see this play out. I'm going to do the horizontal scaling first. So if I scale it by a factor of 1/2 pi, then that brings it from the period or the one cycle being completed in 2 pi to a cycle being completed in 1 unit. And then the increments that I want to follow is 1/4. Okay. So if I think about this so I'm just going to label these naively as 1, 1/2, and then therefore I have enough to get a sketch here. But if I start with sine, I'd have 0, maximum, 0, minimum. Oops, helps if I don't put those on the same line. There we go. Okay, I would fail the vertical line test. That's not a good thing. Okay, so here, right here, from 0 to 1, right, that is sine of 2 pi x. Okay, next I need to shift horizontally by -1/6 units. Okay, so now this is where it gets a little wonky. So 1/6 would be, let's see, so 1/4 is it's about a half of a block. We're just going to estimate. So 1/4, so half. So I'm going to shift by half a block or half a grid point horizontally. Okay, this is a sketch. If I wanted to be precise, I would use a graphing utility. Okay, so this would be sine of 2 pi x minus or plus pi over 3. And I went to the left because it was a negative horizontal shift. Now I want to vertically scale by pi, and that is in blue. Verticals are are easier by comparison. So maybe something about there. Zeros stay at 0. And then down here, maybe about there. So this is pi sine 2 pi x plus pi over 3. Okay, and then last one is in green, and that's shifting the whole thing up pi over 4 units. So pi over 4 is a number. It's about 3/4. So shifted it up 3/4 of a block. Okay, and please know that in this approach, I am completely okay with you estimating, especially if the numbers are not nice. This example, the numbers weren't so nice. Future examples, anything on a quiz or exam, things should be much nicer, both for your sake and for my sake as great in grading. So sine, pi sine 2 pi x plus pi over 3 plus pi over 4. Okay, that is that thing. So the final graph is in green. This one via transformations, I would argue, it's a little messy. The 5-point method, it was much more cleanly set up. So know that in certain scenarios, transformations are going to work great. In other scenarios, the 5-point method is going to work great. Make sure to follow the instructions. And if it doesn't say, you get to pick whatever works best for you.